All but, I believe, one took a polygraph, and from what was told to me that they all passed.
Nancy, my clients have not taken a polygraph test.
Nobody's guilty, and everybody's a suspect. We don't know the truth yet, but we will.
How you doing? I'm good. Well, you've been having a big season so far this year, man. Tell us about it. How does it feel coming in for your senior year?
I mean, it's great. I'm just happy to, play with some of my best friends.
Yeah.
I play with all my life.
Yeah. You gonna privately graduate as?
I probably will.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. All right, so Nolan, you've been one of the leaders on the team, especially through some tough games like last week. How do you personally bounce back from a loss like that?
Really just you're trying to flush it, because once it's over, you can't do nothing about it. Trying to have a good mentality for the next coming week.
Yeah.
Play hard, have fun.
Matchups you're excited for the season? Or are you just taking each game each week by?
I'm ready for the go for a game.
You're ready to go for a game.
That's what I want.
That's been turned into y'all rivalry.
I want that one.
Yeah.
A man in suburban Chicago, with no connection to Nolan Wells, his family, or the state of Mississippi, allegedly told a witness he'd cut them into pieces and put them in a suitcase. He's never met anyone involved in this case. He's just watched it online. And he's one of 3 people now facing federal charges for threatening real people connected to an 18-year-old's death that still, 5 weeks later, has no official cause. That's where this case stands right now. Before we go further, if you want to keep following it as new developments break, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. This one keeps moving, and we're not going anywhere until it's resolved. Let's rebuild the full picture, because a lot has happened since Nolan Wells first went missing. On July 4th, Nolan, 18, traveled to Horn Island, a remote barrier island off the Mississippi coast, with a group of friends. He was last seen sometime that afternoon, though even that detail isn't fully settled. Some accounts place it around 4:30, others closer to 6 p.m. According to his friends, he chose to stay behind after the groups both developed mechanical trouble, planning to catch a ride back later. He never did. 2 days later, his body was found in the water off the island. Nolan had just graduated from Ocean Springs High School and was preparing to start his first season as a wide receiver at Southwest Mississippi Community College. Those who knew him describe a quiet, steady presence, someone who led without needing to raise his voice. In the weeks since, this case has become something much bigger than one missing timeline. Civil rights attorney Ben Crump took on the family's representation, raising questions about race, given that Nolan was black and traveling with a group of white friends. The Wells family commissioned an independent autopsy, distrustful of how the process might unfold locally. Reverend Al Sharpton spoke at Nolan's funeral. National media outlets picked the story up. And alongside all of that, an entirely separate story started unfolding. One about what happens when a case like this collides with an audience desperate for answers it doesn't have yet. That's the story we're going to walk through today. Not just what happened to Nolan Wells, because nobody can tell you that with certainty right now, but what's happened around this case in the weeks since, the contradictions, the media battles, and the real federal consequences some people are now facing for how they've responded to it. Let's start with the forensic side, because it's still the biggest unresolved thread. The coroner's initial examination found no immediately obvious signs of trauma, but ordered a full autopsy regardless. That came back with an answer that satisfied almost nobody, cause and manner of death undetermined, pending further investigation. The independent autopsy the family commissioned reached a similar conclusion, while flagging one specific detail investigators haven't explained, an area of discoloration on the back of Nolan's head that the examining pathologist could not account for. As of the most recent reporting, Mississippi State autopsy has reportedly been completed, according to a spokesperson with the Department of Public Safety. But the results haven't been made public. Jackson County District Attorney Angel Myers-McElrath has confirmed the case will eventually go before a grand jury, though there's still no public timeline for when that happens. Now here's where the story splits into 2 very different tracks, because while investigators have said little, the public conversation has said a lot, and not always accurately. Nolan's friends, the ones who were with him that day, have given multiple interviews since, most recently with conservative commentator Brandon Tatum, a former police officer turned podcaster. In these interviews, they've defended their account of what happened, and push back on what they describe as false narratives circulating about them. They've also launched a public fundraiser, describing themselves as targets of harassment stemming from the case. Meanwhile, veteran crime commentator Nancy Grace has taken the opposite approach, publicly questioning specific details in the friend's account, including why Nolan would have left his phone behind if he genuinely chose to stay on the island voluntarily.
Brandon, whoa, bit. I'm going to go right back to what you're saying, but you're saying a lot, and I want to address each thing so we don't leave anything out. Number one, you just stated that, basically. Correct me, you can paraphrase this any way you want to. It looks really bad for Nolan's family not to hand over the phone. Do you have any independent knowledge they have not handed over the phone?
According to their lawyer that wrote a statement, and the statement was, we're prepared to cooperate, but that was as of the 11th. Therefore, they have not cooperated. Tyler Cox has made mention that he don't believe they cooperated whatsoever. He don't believe they cooperated whatsoever as well. So
extrapolating, you're taking their words, Tatum, that their words that they're prepared to cooperate to mean they haven't handed over the phone. Isn't that true?
I'm putting everything together.
The two media figures have clashed repeatedly and publicly over the case, each accusing the other of getting key facts wrong.
Taking polygraphs.
Well, from my understanding, all but I believe one took a polygraph, and from what was told to me that they all passed, and all of the ones that took a polygraph took one without a lawyer. And they cooperated with law enforcement. So from my understanding, everybody took a polygraph test.
Why do you say that's from what
one.
You understand? Did they tell you they took a poly and passed?
Yes, ma'am. They told me that they did it. I wasn't there. So that's why I'm saying from my understanding, they told me that all the boys except one, which is Warren, I believe, took a polygraph test. All of them did not have lawyers and did it and cooperated with police. Warren also cooperated with police. I just believe he didn't take a lot to take the test, but Warren is the young man that I interviewed. So according to what they told me, they all took a lot to take test and passed. And it's an equivalent of a lot to take the test. It's not a traditional lot to take test, but it's the same theology of trying to get to if a person is lying. I don't know the name of it. It's an equivalent of a lot to take the test. It's a different methodology. I don't believe it was a polygraph test. I believe they took other stressors in order to analyze if the people were telling the truth or not. So then the answer to
did they take a polygraph would be no. So don't you understand why? And I'm not saying this is true. I don't know that it's true. I don't know that CETO call is real or fake. I don't know. It's murky. Tatum, when I would try cases, especially complicated cases, I would start out the trial with a big jar full of water and silt. And I had it sitting big on my counsel table, day one, right beside my Bible. And in closing arguments, the first thing I would do when I started closing arguments, I'd take that jar and shake it. And it would get very murky. You couldn't see anything. And I'd sit it down on my counsel table and argument would commence. And by the time I had gone through all the evidence, I'd go over to my table, pick it up and say, see, it's not muddy anymore. It's crystal clear what happened. My point is, we don't know. So all the haters attacking you, attacking me, attacking the cops, attacking the friends, attacking Nolan's mother, for Pete's sake. We don't know. It's unjustified. Now, to my question. Don't you understand why people are suspicious? Because Nolan's separated from his phone, which no teen does. I get it, why he didn't have it in the water. I get that. I dive, I swim. I just went swimming with the dolphins with my twins. And yes, my phone was on the boat. But then I got it. I didn't let the boat take off without it. So at least you can admit that's why people are curious. I'm curious.
Nancy, I think it's because people are out putting out misinformation and they don't have the totality of circumstances because they haven't heard from the boys, didn't watch the interview and all of this stuff, and they feel that it's convoluted. It's very straightforward to me and very clear in many areas that the boys are saying they did not have access. Christine, Nolan's mother, is not saying unequivocally that things were deleted. She was surprised that things were not present. Therefore, she insinuated that things may have been deleted. But she did not really say that the phone was deleted. And the fact that they did not communicate with both sides, meaning that I wish that the Nolan Wells family would have communicated with these boys instead of me, would have talked to their lawyers instead of me, then therefore they could have gotten a good perspective. The boys made mention in the interview that I did with them that they told Christine, Nolan's mother, that they had his phone and his keys in their possession. Therefore, she came to get them. They turned them over. They have no access to his codes. They have no reason to delete his phone. They're claiming there's nothing that was deleted. They gave a fair explanation as to why he left the phone on the boat. Nolan wasn't the only individual to leave the phone on the boat. He wasn't the only black person to leave the phone on the boat. So that, to me, dispels the racial component. He was with them. Multiple boats came out. Traditionally, if you don't leave on a boat you came on, you can leave on another boat. They're all going to the same location. So it's not that bizarre that he left his phone. The phone was returned to Nolan. These are best friends of Nolan. They hang out almost every day.
Hold on just a sec.
He spent the night over their house.
Everything you're saying, but now we're getting to another topic. I hear you, but Tatum, the boat. Has the boat been searched by cadaver dogs and scent dogs?
The boat, from my understanding, has not been searched, and the cadaver dogs were made available for Benjamin Crump to utilize them to do a search on the boat. They refused.
No. Crump is not supposed to use the dogs.
There is no reason to search
everything on Crump.
Listen, Nancy, there's no reason if there's not any evidence of a murder, there's no reason for them to use the cadaver dog. That's how this works.
True.
There's none of these individuals they do not have any expectation that there was any murder that occurred. It's just other people are putting that out to the world. The police department is not investigating the murder. These boys are not suspects.
I agree they're not suspects. They're not persons of interest. They're not suspects. They haven't been charged. But
to believe after interviewing 60 people that he was ever on the boat.
The search of the Triton,
It's not
his boat.
Ordering it. He's not ordering it. The cadaver dogs were made available if he wanted to. No. They availed themselves to him and said, would you like us to search the boat for you?
You just said that about Nolan Wells' mom. Now you said, I almost hate to do this to you. Almost. Tatum, you just said when Crump says we're available and ready, you meant, well, that's no, they haven't handed over the boat. But now you're saying the friends say our boat's available and ready, and I'm not going to tear you a new one because the law enforcement is the one that needs to go and search the boat.
Nancy,
it ain't rocket science.
The people who had questions about this, because it's definitely not law enforcement, it was Benjamin Crump. They wanted to get to the bottom. They don't trust law enforcement.
There's not a grand jury? This isn't going to grand jury?
I'm saying initially before grand jury.
Because if it's going to grand jury, then there are questions.
Initially before grand jury, when this first started, and Benjamin Crump brought up all of these questions, and they availed themselves to him and said, would you like for us to search the boat? We'll grant the cadaver dogs for you to go and look at the boat. And he refused. And this is why I'm saying it does not appear.
Give authority to search the boat.
The boys are cooperating.
I want you to run over to Tatum's house and sniff the hell out of it, because it's your house.
Come on over. I would say no. I said come on over. The cadaver dogs are made available, but then Benjamin Crump said, well, we don't want it. That's the problem here.
Wait a minute.
They are not pursuing like they claim they are.
Say, here's our boat. Come search it. Did the families offer the boat up to search?
They offered boat, phones, whatever investigators needed, whatever the family needed, they made it available. The family did not pursue any avenue to connect with the boys on any level. The boat, to talk about timeline, to communicate with parents, to communicate with lawyers, they have done nothing. And then now we find out that they haven't even given the phone over to law enforcement so they can do an extraction or a forensic investigation.
Well, stop.
That they can see.
You know what? I respect you, but I'm going to have to cut your mic because we have to be clear about something. Hold on.
It's worth being clear about what this actually is. It's a dispute between two commentators interpreting the same limited set of facts differently, not new evidence from the investigation itself. But it's shaped how millions of people are understanding this case, sometimes more than the investigation has. And that public storm is exactly what led to the case's most concrete development in weeks, an entirely separate set of criminal charges, but not against anyone connected to Nolan's death. Federal prosecutors have charged 3 people in 3 different states with making threats tied to this case. Edward James Porter, 33, of Berwyn, Illinois, allegedly called a witness on July 31st and threatened to kill them and their entire family, going as far as to describe cutting the witness up and putting them in a suitcase, according to court documents. Investigators say Porter has no known connection to Nolan, his family, or anyone involved in the case, just an extensive prior criminal history involving previous threats and violence. He's being transferred to Mississippi to face prosecution. The other 2 defendants follow a similar pattern. Michelle Francine Edwards of Ohio is accused of placing repeated bomb threats to 2 different Mississippi government offices, allegedly calling one office 21 times, telling staff the clock is ticking. Joseph Alfredo Vasquez Dumars of California is accused of sending a threatening message to a Jackson County judge connected to the investigation. Like Porter, neither appears to have any actual relationship to anyone in this case. Think about what that means. 3 people in 3 states who have never met Nolan Wells, his family, his friends, or anyone touched by this tragedy, allegedly escalated into real, federal-level threats against real people based entirely on what they'd absorbed from watching this case unfold online. That's the turning point in this story right now. Not a break in the death investigation itself. That remains as unresolved as ever, but a stark demonstration of how much real-world consequence a case like this can generate before it's even close to answered. A judge posting screenshots of threats to her own Facebook page. A friend of Nolan's describing feeling targeted for simply giving his account. A family still waiting on a grand jury, watching all of this unfold around the one thing they actually want, the truth about their son. So let's lay out plainly where this case actually stands. Confirmed. Nolan Wells died sometime after being last seen on Horn Island on July 4th. Both a state and independent autopsy have been completed, and both list cause and manner of death as undetermined. An unexplained mark on the back of his skull remains unaccounted for. The state autopsy results have reportedly been finished but not released. 3 people unconnected to the case have been federally charged with making threats against witnesses, officials, and a judge involved in it. Disputed the exact time Nolan was last seen, with accounts ranging from 4:30 to 6 p.m. Whether his friend's account that afternoon is complete and accurate, a question Nancy Grace has raised publicly, and one his friends and their supporters, including Brandon Tatum, have pushed back on directly, unanswered, whether that unexplained mark reflects any actual injury or an ordinary post-mortem process, whether Nolan entered the water willingly or was forced, and when or if the grand jury process will actually produce a public conclusion to any of this. What's clear is that this case has grown well beyond its original boundaries. It's no longer just a question of what happened to one 18-year-old on a remote island. It's become a case study in how quickly public suspicion, media disagreement, and real anger can spread faster than any actual investigation can move, sometimes with real, dangerous consequences for people who had nothing to do with the original tragedy at all. So here's what we want to leave you with. When 2 credible-sounding media voices look at the exact same set of facts and reach opposite conclusions, how do you, as a viewer, actually decide who to trust? And should you fully trust either one before the investigation itself is finished? And when public anger over an unresolved case spills over into real threats against uninvolved bystanders, does that intensity reflect real information the public has picked up on? Or does it show how easily a search for justice can turn into something else entirely? We still don't know what happened to Nolan Wells. Tell us honestly what you think, respectfully, because a real family is still living through every part of the story. And if you want to be here the moment this case finally gets a real, confirmed answer, subscribe to Mystora Crimes, because we'll be covering it the second it arrives.